Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Art Studio of Eli Hansen. Today I'm going to be showing you how I go about shading a subject in a pencil drawing. When I'm shading, I always start with the darkest dark that my pencil can achieve, the heaviest, boldest line I can lay down. And while I may not actually put it in all of its as dark as it can be right away, I'll always come back to that area and make sure it's as dark as it can be before I'm finished with the drawing. Because in any pencil drawing, you want to have the greatest contrast possible. That's what really makes pencil drawings stand out, is that contrast. On a subject like this apple here, and I'm drawing the shadow, the deepest dark is going to be in the shadow right here at the very base of the apple, and also in the part of the apple itself that is shadowed. The lightest light, if the brightest white is, if the light is coming from this direction, is obviously going to be the highlights on this side of the apple. So I'm going to block in where my highlight will be, and a little more highlight here. That's the whitest white, and I don't want to touch that at all. Then the darkest dark is going to be right here. And now I work between the two. So if this is, say, not a green apple nor a red apple, which would be very dark, but something like, say, a Crips Pink, a very delicious apple, by the way, then most of the apple is going to be a medium gray tone. And the grain of the skin of the apple, which has a grain to it, runs this way around the apple from the stem to the flower at the base. So I'll make my lines go that direction. I'll take my eraser and remove the lines where I blocked in that highlight so that that's not so visible. Now over here on this side of the apple is in shade. So I'll lay in a darker color, but not my darkest, which is here at the base. Still following the grain of the apple. And because of the roundness of the apple, the dividing line between what's in shadow and what's in light is going to be about there. So I'm going to fade out my shading to about its medium point right there. And once again, I'll erase the extra lines that don't fit in and just draw back over them with my shading. This part of the apple here is a little too dark, so I'm going to use my pencil and just tap the paper. It's a nice technique with the kneaded eraser. Kind of lift out some of the color there. Now, the pencil drawing, I'm all about the contrast between the lightest light and the darkest dark, and the difference between the two. It looks like I haven't really got enough dark down here on the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead, make sure this is my darkest, and I'm going to darken a little more of the shadow. If you don't want your lines and your shading to appear so strongly directional, if you don't want all these little lines in here, a great tip is to move in circles. Helps to hide that. Okay, now I'll move on to shadow. I'll add a little bit of that quality of line I was talking about in an earlier video. This part of the apple is emphasized because it's in the shade or the shadow. Now the shadow itself fades out as it gets closer to the edge until it reaches the whitest white, which is the white of the paper. Once again, I'm going to come back with my eraser and remove the lines, and all you'll see is the gentle shading. Okay, I'm going to make my shadow a little darker here by the darkest dark. I'm going to spread that a little further. And here on the edge, I'm going to make it a little lighter. Take my eraser, come back and blur a little. Darken the stem. And that is how I do the shading on a simple subject like that, done from memory. The key is to establish your lightest light and your darkest dark and work between the two, and try and establish that gradation from dark to light. Thanks for watching. As always, if you'd like to see more, you can check out my website, elihansenart.com. I'll put a link to that in the description, and I'll also put a link to my Facebook page. And I hope you feel inclined to check it out on Facebook, and if you like, you can also drop a like on this video on YouTube. Check me out in the next video, and thanks for watching.